SB 618 Rubio regarding child support enforcement, and the recommendation is do pass to Senate Human Services Committee. With that, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Today I'm presenting SB 618, which will make it easier for low-income parents to financially support their children and themselves by eliminating the unjust interest on child support money that is owed to the government. Under existing law in California, custodial parents who receive public assistance are entitled only to a portion of the money because the rest of the balance is intercepted by the government to pay back the cost of public assistance. If the payment is not collected, California piles on a 10% interest rate, which does not benefit directly the child, which it was the intent. This egregious 10% interest rate is one of the highest in the country and continues to undermine the economic stability and already unstable low-income families. This also increases their debt to unsustainable levels and exacerbates racial inequalities and racial wealth gaps. Since this debt does not go away after the child turns 18, the debt continues to burden the most vulnerable and low-income, insecure families. And unfortunately, most of the parents impacted by these policies are BIPOC, individuals, elderly, disabled, or living only on Social Security. With me today, I have two witnesses, Mariko Yoshihara with the Truth, Justice, and Child Support Coalition, and Ann Stuhl-Dreher. If they can come up and present, thank you.
And before we start, I remind everybody of Senator Umberg's policy, which is 2 primary speakers, 2 minutes apiece.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mariko Yoshihara. I'm here on behalf of the Truth and Justice and Child Support Coalition, a statewide coalition of organizations that seek to change policy to better support low-income children and their families. As mentioned by the Senator, at the heart of the problem is this policy that requires parents who receive public assistance to repay the state by intercepting their child support. When those parents cannot afford to pay, their debt to the state grows rapidly because California adds this 10% interest. As a result, today parents owe over $6.5 billion in unpaid child support debt to the state, and approximately 1/4 of the debt is unpaid interest. California's egregious 10% interest rate is one of the highest in the country, and 16 states charge no interest at all. Eliminating the interest rate is a crucial racial and economic justice issue because child support debt disproportionately impacts families of color. And we know that when we implement proposals that shrink the government debt, like eliminating this 10% interest rate, parents are better able to support their children and themselves. To be clear, this bill does not impact any debt or interest that is owed to the parent. This only impacts interest on debt that is owed to the state. And California's own research shows that 95% of this debt is uncollectible anyway because it is old, sometimes decades old. And historically, child support orders have been set up at amounts too high for a low-income parent to afford to pay, stacking the deck against them from the very start. The legislature has shown tremendous leadership in the last few years to transform our child support program to put families first by showing commitment to fully pass through child support payments to families. But we have to remedy what has already occurred in the program and support the families that are struggling right now. And eliminating the predatory 10% interest rate will help families immediately. We strongly urge your support. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ann Stuhl-Dreher, and I direct the Financial Justice Project in the Treasurer's Office for the City and County of San Francisco. We were set up about 5 years ago to assess and reform our city's fines and fees. I had no idea when I started this job how much I would hear from so many parents with low incomes about our system of child support and how state policies like our 10% interest rate on the debt that parents owe to government makes it harder, not easier, for parents with low incomes to financially support their children and themselves. I heard a lot from people like Freddie Persons. Freddie is 77, lives on a $900 Social Security check, and is retired after working for 36 years as a janitor at the Bayview Plaza Mall. Until recently, the government automatically garnished $300 from his monthly $900 check. The reason? Decades ago, Mr. Persons fell behind on his child support payments. He long ago paid off and met his child support obligation to his ex-wife and his children. But because of the 10% interest rate on the debt that he owed to the government, Mr. Persons' debt ballooned, he could not keep up, and his paycheck was garnished into his 70s. The 10% interest rate balloons the government debt to levels that are almost impossible for a parent with a low income to pay. In California, a parent who owes the average $15,000 in debt could pay $50 every 2 weeks for 30 years, and they'd actually owe more on the debt than when they started, since the interest owed exceeds their annual payments. Someone making the same payments in one of the 16 states that charge no interest would have nearly paid off this debt in 12 years. The 10% interest rate on government debt makes it harder for parents to financially support themselves and their children. All of those payments could be used by them to support themselves and their family, to buy food, school clothes, pay for college, pay the rent, etc. I'm asking for your aye vote to end this 10% interest rate on the government debt and help put money in the pockets of struggling parents so that they can support their children and themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any Me Too speakers in support? Oh, there you go. Okay, with that, do we have any primary witnesses in opposition? Seeing none. Any Me Too testimony in opposition? Seeing none. Let's go to the phones. And again, we will be taking testimony both in support and opposition to SB 618. Moderator?
Thank you. For support and opposition, you may press 1 and then 0. Again, that is 1 and then 0 for support and opposition. We will go to 502. Your line is open.
Hi, this is Gail Yen with Root and Rebound in strong support of SB 618. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to line 506. One moment. 506, can you push 1 and then 0 again? All right. 506, your line is open.
Hello, this is Rachel Freitas, and I'm expressing support for SB 618 on behalf of the Truth and Justice and Child Support Coalition and Legal Services of Northern California. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to line 495. Your line is open.
Yes, hello. My name is Francesca Wander. I'm an economic justice activist in Senator Angelique Ashby's district. I'm encouraging a strong aye vote on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, and you're a lucky constituent.
Thank you. We'll go to line 450. Your line is open.
Good afternoon. My name is Bridget Castillo, and we are in strong support of this proposal.
Thank you.
On behalf of Western Center on Law and Poverty. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to line 512. Your line is open. Line 512, your line is open.
Yes, hello. Stephen Goldberg from Legal Services of Northern California in strong support of the bill.
I couldn't hear that. Did you hear that?
Thank you, and we have no further support or opposition. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you for that testimony. Thank you, moderator. I'm going to pull it back to the committee. Questions, comments, concerns? Senator Ashby.
Yes, we have a really long agenda, and I don't need to be verbose on this, but this actually happened to me. I was a young single mom, and I received support from the state of California and needed some help at a time in my life. I lived in low-income housing. I used food stamps, and when I was a young single mom, I was working full-time and going to law school, and my son's father did have this exact thing happen. His wages garnished to pay back the county or state, and he couldn't pay it back, and he was remanded, actually, into custody. And I was, at the time, in law school working in the public defender's office in Sacramento County, and actually appeared in court on his behalf and said, I'm not sure I understand how you expect him to make up the debt while being incarcerated, so this doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. It's hard to be a young parent who is reliant on the welfare system. It's also hard for the person who has to help pay that back. And I think this is a fair compromise, and I appreciate you bringing the bill forward, and I'm happy to move it.
Okay, thank you, Senator Ashby. Seeing no one else, we have a motion, so you may close.
I appreciate your time. I respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Okay, with that, again, the recommendations do pass to Senate Human Services Committee. So the Secretary could read the roll, call the roll.
This is file item number 15, SB 618 by Senator Rubio. The motion is due pass to Senate Human Services. Umberg. Wilk.
Aye.
Wilk, aye. Allen. Ashby.
Aye.
Ashby, aye. Caballero. Durazo. Laird. Laird, aye. McGuire. Min. Nilo. Nilo, aye. Weiner. 4-0.
Okay. 4-0. We will leave the roll open so members can add on.